Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Hello everyone and welcome to Ask Rob and Rob, the show where you give us great questions and we hopefully give you great answers. We've got two wonderful hubbers who've delivered for us this week, and if you'd like to be on the show in the future and be considered wonderful by Rob and I, then follow these simple instructions.
Yep, all you got to do is leave us a message, and you can do it in one of two different ways. You can give us a call on the number that you should know by now. It's 013 808 0035. That's 013 808 0035. Or you can go to our website and leave us a voicemail there instead. The link to head over to is thepropertyhub.net/ask. Okay, let's get into our first question because James needs a bit of help.
Hi, Rob and Rob. My name's James. My question relates to my personal investment situation, so hopefully it isn't too specific. Last year I inherited a property from my late mother, which I sold, and I've used a chunk of that capital to buy a place with my girlfriend, a residential property. But I'm also really keen to invest the remaining capital in buy-to-lets. Now, 6 months ago, I was really keen to get some of this money invested rather than letting it just sit in the bank. And I did some research and I had an offer accepted on a 3-bedroom end-of-terrace in Northampton. Now, that was in March, and the conveyancing process for that property is still continuing now because of issues further up the chain. Now, the problem is I've learned an awful lot in those 6 months about buy-to-let investment locations, not least from you two. So my question really is whether I should carry on with the purchase, even though it's taken 6 months, or whether I should just pull out and cut my losses. I stand to lose a little bit in solicitors' fees and have a rethink and take stock of the situation and use the knowledge I've gained over the last 6 months to potentially buy in a different location where I might get better capital growth. So yeah, I want to hear your thoughts really. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, James, really good question. Thank you for that. I've got some thoughts and I'm sure that Rob B will do as well. So I'll just give you some broad strokes. Firstly, to set your expectations, it taking this long isn't exactly normal, but it's also not the most shocking thing I've heard in my life either. Unfortunately, as you will learn in property, the buying process is absolutely painful, which is annoying in its own right, but also the unfortunate point of it is that it gives you lots of time to think and wonder if you've done the right thing, and it also does the same for everybody else involved. And there's so much time for things to fall apart, for circumstances to change, so the longer things go on for, the less likely the deal is to actually happen. And that's exactly what's happening with you because you've had the time to reconsider whether you're doing the right thing. So on the one hand, if you look at it and you think, based on everything that I now know, I would not buy this property today. This is just not a good idea. Then you should be pulling out because yes, you'll have lost some time and you've lost a bit of money, but that's nothing compared to either the losses you could make in future or the foregone profits that you could have made if you'd made a better investment. But the flip side of that is you need to be very careful that you're not looking out for the perfect investment. The more time you spend learning and listening and looking at what everyone else is doing and thinking about all the different wonderful things that you could do, you could start to get the idea that every deal needs to be absolutely phenomenal and people are doing all these incredible things. Actually, as we said before, there is no such thing as a perfect deal. And just getting a very good one to start with is more than good enough. You'll be far better off investing in something, even if it's not perfect, than if you're sitting around for years waiting for the ideal property to come along, because it never will. So the important thing, I think, Rob, is that James is honest with himself and looks rationally at this purchase and considers what he'd do if he came across it for the first time today.
Yep, I think you've nailed it, Rob. It's just going to be an honest assessment of the deal to know whether you should call this one quits or push on. If it's just because it's not exciting anymore and there's something else that's new and shiny that's marginally better, maybe just stick with it and keep pushing. But if you're seeing deals that you think are significantly better, then maybe it is time to call it quits. Only you'll be able to decide, and I think it's just being really honest with yourself. You know, is it just because it's exciting to look at more deals? Or does it financially make sense to move on? Only you can decide that one, James. But best of luck with whatever you do. Now, Rob, it's a wonderful moment on the podcast because our next listener is called Rob.
Oh, hi, Rob and Rob. It's Rob here. My question is, I have to invest in property at the moment. The question is, do I do it now or do I hold off in view of the knowledge that a real Brexit is increasingly likely in March? I figure that the house market may start slow in January, February due to this and people holding off. So there may be an opportunity to pick up something at a very good price January, March time. In addition, if there is a no-deal Brexit in March, do you think that there'll be a massive drop in the property market as predicted by Mark Kearney, the Bank of England guy. So that's my question. Do I shop now, or do I wait till January, February in anticipation of a no deal and the market slowing, or do I wait till after March to see where it goes with the no deal? Thank you very much. Bye.
Well, Rob, lovely to have you on the show. You obviously are a man of intelligence, being blessed with such a wonderful name. And this is a great question, probably the best we've ever had on Ask Rob and Rob. Okay, maybe a little too much, but great question nonetheless. The first thing I would do is point you back to a property podcast episode that we have covered recently. And I think it's one of the most important podcasts we've delivered this year, which was episode 288. Go back and listen to that, but don't worry, I'll give you some value here as well. The thing to understand with Brexit is the negativity is here now. Most of the country is assuming the worst. The markets are assuming the worst. Nobody really thinks, oh, Brexit, that's going to go well. That's not what's happening right now. And because of that, the doom and gloom is priced into the market. A no deal or whatever version of Brexit we get won't dramatically move the property market, certainly over the medium term. There may be a short-term dip with what happens. However, we could also get a boost from what's delivered, because everyone thinks, oh God, we thought the worst and it's actually a bit better than the worst case. So what does that mean you should do? Well, because there's so much doom and gloom and so much negativity right now, I actually feel that now is a wonderful time of opportunity. A lot of people have switched off to property right now. You may be listening to the podcast thinking, well, that's not me. I'm very much alert. I'm very keen to invest. You are the minority. There are not many people like you. That's great that you think that way, because you're going to win more than most of the people who are in this field. But you are the minority. A wonderful minority you are, but it's not a common thought pattern. Not many people are thinking right now, oh, doom and gloom opportunity, because the media grinds people down and people start to believe what is being put out by the papers, that everything is awful. And when people believe everything is awful, their investment decisions and processes are changed, often for the worse. You actually probably want to, as a general rule, do the opposite of what the media is portraying. So when everything is awful, like the media is saying it is now, be brave. And when the media is saying property market is incredible and you should invest, you probably want to start pulling back. So Rob, actually far from should you be holding back, I think you should be pushing on.
Yeah, the number of questions that we've had around this topic is absolutely enormous. That's on Ask from Rob and by email and on the forum. And that's just the people who want to know what we think. So you can be sure that investors in the country at large are all holding back and thinking about what to do. You can think about all the homeowners who are nervously thinking about what's going to happen to their value of their property because they've half read a headline about something that Mark Kearney allegedly said but didn't. All these things that are floating around mean that now is the time. When Theresa May finally comes back and says, ta-da, here's what I've got, the financial markets will react quickly because they can, but because property moves more slowly, it's unlikely to open up a window of opportunity that just lasts for a few months. It's far more likely that everyone will think, finally, I know what's going on, I can actually get on with my life again and make this decision, and that means all these people coming back into the market. So I wouldn't wait and not even start looking until March next year. I'd start looking now. And don't do any old deal because you think the window of opportunity is open, but if the right deal is there, don't hold back.
And don't hold back from getting your questions in. We love answering them. So get along to the propertyhub.net/ask and you might hear your question answered in the coming weeks. We'll be back with the Property Podcast on Thursday and of course back next week with Ask Rob and Rob. So until then, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.